last week or so when you guys were getting ready for the Iowa game, Coach was talking about how well Iowa seeks contact when they have the ball and how well they drive and try to get to the line. Where do you think you guys are as a team as far as trying to draw fouls and seek out some of that contact?
We definitely could do a better job of it. We don't get to the line enough. In this type of league, you kind of need to score easily, and that's the free throw line or transition or anything like that. Going against half-court defense at times can be tough, so we definitely need to work on, I guess, seeking more contact and getting to the free throw line more.
How do you work on that? How do you get better at something like that?
I think that comes with, moving the ball around the perimeter, and you got to attack gaps, you got to attack long closeouts. Obviously, we got a lot of good shooters on our team, and that comes with, long closeouts. So I feel like we got to attack those gaps, play off 2 feet, pump fake, and, get to the line.
Justin, you played 17 minutes the other night, hit a couple of threes. Just what does a game like that do for your confidence as it looks like you might get some more time here with Kyle being out?
Yeah, obviously it's definitely a confidence booster. I haven't played much this year, but, I never really dwelled on it or got down on myself. I always kept a positive mindset. Just knowing, I got to stay ready and do whatever it takes to help this team win, whether that's on the bench or on the court, getting stops, talking, communicating, keeping everybody positive, things like that.
Both of you guys, when you played that smaller lineup against Purdue, you actually ended up outscoring them for the totality of the game. As you try to get a win here and turn things around, what does that do for you guys, knowing that you found something that worked a little bit? I know you didn't win the game, and that's the ultimate goal, but to find something within a game that seemed pretty successful for you, is that a good thing for this team to sort of grab onto right now?
Yeah, I definitely think so, just because that group late was able to click a little bit. We were able to get a couple more stops than we got in the first half and made some shots. Justin made some big-time shots that we really needed, and there's no surprise that he made those shots to any of us because, that's what he does in practice. So late in the game, that definitely helped, and seeing that group out there and just as hard as we fought together was definitely, a good thing for us.
Justin, when you say you've got to stay ready, what does that entail? Obviously, the game's different than practice
right.
and whatnot. So how do you do that when you're not seeing a ton of minutes?
Right. It starts with keeping a positive mindset. Every day, in practice, I know it's my job to help these guys get ready, whether I'm on the scout team or whether I'm actually with them practicing against the scout team. But it definitely begins in practice. Just keeping the right mindset. Going hard every play. Not giving up. And then, in games when I'm on the bench, I got to keep, chattering and keep the energy, stay positive. And when my number is called, I got to be ready to go. My minutes may be limited, but, I got to be ready to produce.
You've had a couple of those hustle plays, diving for balls, the one you tossed it off the guy, falling out of bounds. Is that something else? Obviously, we know about your shooting, but that type of thing that you hope to bring as your minutes increase? Yeah, Coach told me he wants to see me, hustle more, get on the, give 110%, every play. So, that's what I've been trying to do, get more deflections, get after more loose balls. I'm hoping to get, every 50-50 ball that's around me. So, I guess so, yeah.
CJ, when you look at this team, nobody wants to lose games. Nobody wants to be in a losing streak. How would you describe the mood of this team, and what is your role in trying to stay positive and get things back on track here?
Like you said, nobody wants to lose, but kind of how Justin hit it, and everyone has to stay positive. You just got to keep kind of learning and what we can improve on. Each game is pretty much going to come down how the last couple of games to the last couple of possessions that hurt us in the first half and that hurt us in the second half, which ended up hurting us in the win column. So we just got to stay positive and stay ready and keep learning from our past experiences.
What are you guys seeing from Nebraska coming to the matchup this weekend?
They got a lot of guys that can score. 4 of their 5 starters are in double digits. Pretty solid shooting team. They're pretty long, tall, and they're athletic. So, we got to be ready to run with them. We got to be ready to get stops. And, like CJ said, just, 3 or 4 more possessions a half. We got to make those winning plays.
And they have one of the best turnover margins in the country, and that's something you guys have struggled with in a few games. What is the mindset? How do you prepare for a team like that is so good at not turning it over and forcing the turnovers?
That's probably one of the biggest keys for us is taking care of the ball. We had quite a few turnovers last game in the first half, and that kind of, against teams in the Big Ten, that puts you in a bad position already. So we have to take care of the ball, especially in the hostile environment, how it's going to be tomorrow.
Yeah, it seemed like in that first half, I think you went almost 7 minutes without making a shot from the floor. Just and some of those were unforced turnovers. I think, not to bring up anybody's name, but I think there was a pass that went through somebody's legs out of bounds or whatever. Just is having hands ready and being tuned in, just how important is that for a whole 40-minute game to not have those kind of long lapses?
I would say it's very important. You obviously know we're going to make mistakes, so, stuff like that's going to happen, but, it's whether we can move on to it, forget about the mistake we just made and get on to the next play. Obviously, we do got to limit our turnovers and stuff, but I feel like we got to get better at, moving on to the next possession and just worry about getting the stop after the turnover.
You guys have lost 5 in a row, but Nebraska's also lost 4 of their last 6. And when it's two teams who are both sort of trying to find what they were earlier in the season, like is there something, I don't know, is there something specific that you try and do when it's a matchup where you guys know that you guys are both sort of looking for what you were earlier in this season?
I would say the biggest thing for us as a team, we just have to be who we are and get back to doing the things that made us successful earlier in the season, which is playing defense, getting stops, being good teammates, celebrating together, all that. And once that translates from the defense, then obviously offense comes with it. It's just kind of like an effect that you have once you play the game. But we know that we're going to get their best shot and they're going to get our best shot. I mean, it's just another game in the Big Ten that's going to be rough and gritty. We just have to be the more tougher team and come ready to play.
Even with the current 5-game losing streak, are there any positives that you guys have taken from the last 5 games, even if you haven't necessarily gotten the results you wanted to get?
Yeah, a lot, I would say. We've been playing hard. Obviously, we got to work on handling the ball, but we're just focused on getting better each and every day. After every one of those losses, the next day we were in film for quite a while. Just cleaning up our mistakes, trying to improve on what we can improve on and control what we can control. So we're going to continue to keep doing that, and we'll see the results.
Do you guys do anything different for noon games, or early in the day games, I guess, because a lot of your games are night, and there's kind of a rhythm, I imagine, to your game day routine. Do you have to change anything so that you don't come out flat, or whatever it may be for an earlier game like this?
Luckily, the coaching staff put together a good schedule for us in the non-conference, and we've had a couple noon games. I'm not sure exactly how many, but it's not anything unfamiliar to us at this point, so I wouldn't say that our schedule or our routine would be anything different that we haven't already experienced.
Justin, we haven't talked to you in a little while, but I wonder what that Michigan State experience was like and getting to be on the court with your brother. It seemed like a pretty cool moment. What was that like for you and your family?
Yeah, it was awesome. It was something we dreamed about since we were kids. We've always talked about it when we were younger. That was who I was always working out with, probably from like 5th grade to my freshman year, because that was the last year I played with him. And then he went on to college. But, it was awesome. And I'm just really happy for him. Obviously he plays for a team that, we don't like. But the injuries he's been going through and the adversity he's overcome is awesome to see.
What kind of crowd did you have at that game? Seemed pretty significant.
Yeah, I don't really know, but it was a lot. I know that. I saw a lot of familiar faces in the tunnel, so I'm pretty sure a lot of family members and friends were in the tunnel for when we ran out, so that was a really cool experience.
And you've touched on this a little bit, the impact you've been able to make these last couple of games after having to sit for a while. Where do you think we're starting to see some more of your game? Like you talked about some of the hustle plays and things like that, but what more are we starting to see from you that we couldn't see earlier in the year?
Right, obviously I feel like it comes with transitioning to the college level, which I feel like I'm ready for, but I feel like once I get used to it, back in high school and stuff, I was a really good passer, I feel like, and I think you'll see glimpses of that soon. Obviously, the ball is not in my hands much, which is how it's supposed to be. I'm not a ball handler or nothing, but, I'm good at feeding the post and things like that. Teams got to come out of me because I'm a shooter, and that's pretty much probably all they recognize me as. So I can still make good cuts and stuff, feed the post, cut off of that. My man will follow me, so.
Justin, I'm just curious how specific those conversations with your brother when you were younger were. I mean, were you like, hey, I'll be at Ohio State, you'll be with another school, we'll be on the same court, that'll be a cool thing? No. What were those conversations like then?
Yeah, they were just, things we used to talk about. I don't really know when I started dreaming about having a college basketball career. I don't know if I got that serious till like 8th grade. But, we always just talked about how we wanted to play a sport at the next level, whether that was football, baseball, or basketball. And obviously with us both, he broke his leg first and then I broke mine when we were young, so we just stopped playing other sports and focused on basketball. So we went through the same process in high school. and it was really cool to see, you know, how it panned out. Obviously, we could have went to the same school, but we went somewhere where we fitted in.
All right, hey, obviously quick turnaround here with Nebraska. They've had a really good season. Copeland, Watson, Palmer, Allen, Roby. They've got a starting group that is obviously experienced and played together and won a lot of games in this league. And you can tell they're a very motivated group. I think Tim's done a tremendous job kind of keeping them all together on the same page. Palmer, obviously has been a tremendous addition for him through transfer, as has Copeland. But great environment from what I've heard. Never played there before, but from what I've heard, it's one of the more underrated environments in the country. I've heard that from a number of coaches in our league. They keep talking about what a tremendous environment it is there, game day experience. So, that's kind of what we expect on the road, but obviously this appears to be even at another level. So, looking forward to the challenge.
I asked Matt Painter after the game about, like, when you go through tough stretches, what you need to get out of it. And he said it can be hard sometimes when you fix one thing and then it's something else. You fix the rebounding and then it's turnovers, and then it's. Are you at that point with this, or are you seeing? Is it sort of common things as you go through these games?
I think there are some definite common themes, but I think, when you're struggling. You plug a hole and another one seems to pop up, and I think that good teams have a way of just being pretty sound in a lot of different areas. They may elite teams I think are elite at a couple different things, but good teams kind of are sound in a lot of different areas. We obviously have some areas that have caused us trouble consistently that we have to address.
I know when you're winning, and sometimes it's hard to maybe focus on some of the little things or things that aren't going well because you're winning. Does it just take a win sometimes to maybe plug some of those holes, or to make things feel better, seem better? It just takes a win.
Yeah, I mean, I think for everybody, including your players, or most importantly, really your players, I think that is the case. Having said that, we're in a results business, but we're really trying to evaluate things on a day-to-day basis too, Adam, and just what are we taking from every experience, and we're trying to be committed to how much better can we be in those areas we've talked about from one practice to the next and from one game to the next. So, we that's a mantra, as process driven as we can be. So, but obviously a win, affects everything, mood, confidence, all that kind of thing.
Chris, no foul's a good foul, but there are some that are better than others. No missed shot's a good missed shot, but there are some that are better than others. Are all turnovers is equally egregious, or
No.
are there some that are? And okay, in that case, what's the difference between a good turnover and a bad one?
Well, I don't know if there's a good one, but there's ones that are part of the game, and those are the ones that they don't usually go CQ for, and the other ones are the ones they do CQ for immediately in practice. I think I get what you're getting at, and I think you're trying to get a group to understand the ones that are, listen, you're going to have a guy trying to make a play, and he's going to go just a little bit too far and charge. We want guys to be aggressive. We want guys to play aggressive. That's going to happen. Now, if that's a consistent part of his game, then he's going to have to adjust. But that's going to happen. But a one-handed cross-court pass against a trap is completely preventable. And at some point, you got to figure out you need to make a better decision. Or throwing the ball to a guy who's not even looking for it is a clearly preventable turnover. So those are the ones that we've that are within our control that I've got to get through to our guys we have to do a better job of.
I try to do air quotes, but my hands are full. You had said that you had discussed with the powers of be the way that Caleb was being officiated. Have there been any additional discussions since the Purdue loss, especially considering that Matt Painter kind of came out and said, yeah, we have some questions about that too?
Oh, is that what Matt said?
Well, he said that Caleb had a bad whistle that night and there were some tough calls against him.
Oh,
So
okay.
that's what he said.
Okay. Yeah, I wasn't aware of that. I think, yeah, we have, there have been some additional conversations. And listen, it was explained to me that, that while, in that particular case, didn't look as though that Carson Edwards was hit on the head, the ruling in terms of verticality, it very easily could have been called a foul. So, we've listen, I think that, we're going to continue to express our feelings and, fight for those things that we feel like need to be addressed. But we've got to control what we can control, and that is how we're going about, how disciplined we are in our play in those situations. So that's our challenge. We'll continue to express our feelings, and I've done that post Purdue. But bottom line is we have to control what we control right now.
Not to belabor that, but just when Caleb got his fifth, he was visibly very upset and had to be restrained by a couple teammates. Just like how is he? Do you see it affecting him the way he's been officiated?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's a young kid who's frustrated, understandably so. He's been, he wants to play and wants to have an impact, I think he's a big guy that is an easy target. He also, listen, if you talk to Caleb, he'll say, yeah, I've got to do better at fouling less. He'll tell you that. But I think that he was frustrated with a couple of those calls. We all were. We all, as I told him, have to handle our emotions better, including the coach. And, that's our response. We have to respond better to those situations across the board, coach and players.
And your effectiveness playing smaller against Purdue, as you went back and watched that, do you think that's something that was more matchup-based against Purdue, or do you think that's something – I know you kind of have to do it moving forward because of the roster situation, but do you think that's something that can be effective against most teams?
I just thought our ball moved a lot better when we went to that lineup. And whether we're playing big with Caleb or small, the ball's got to move more. The ball has to move more than what it did. It can't stick. Sometimes it sticks on the perimeter, and sometimes it sticks in the post. Obviously, traps have been fairly effective against us. Not always. We've attacked them well at times, but I just thought across the board the ball moves. So whatever lineup we're in, the ball has to move a little bit more. And I do think it allowed Andre to attack some matchups. But how consistently can you play that against the kind of size that we're going to see on Saturday and beyond? This is debatable.
We knew Justin could shoot, but in the limited time we saw him even before the other night, effort plays seem to be something he's good at. I don't know if that's the right way.
Active play?
Effort, just
effort plays,
diving
okay.
for
Yeah.
balls and things like that. And I asked him about that, and he said that you've asked him to do that a little bit more. And I know Kyle is another guy. What makes a player good at that? Is it just something they grow up with? Is it what do you need to see to?
It's really the expectation for everybody. But I do you like watch his brother play, and his brother makes a lot of effort plays for Michigan State. And I think that is a quality that needs to always be consistent with who Justin is as a player. He's got a good nose for the ball. Right now he's physically got to get stronger and all the things that freshmen have to get, so he's got to throw his body around a little bit. He did a good job of that for the most part. Made some poor decisions that freshmen are going to make, but as I've said over and over, he has the attitude and the approach that really is the expectation for freshmen, but not everybody that your coach is that way all the time, and it's a real credit to him that he's kept himself ready.
Is there a way to work on those type of I don't know if you practice guys diving for balls out of safety or whatnot, but is that something you can work with guys on to maybe guys who don't do it as naturally to get them to do it?
Yeah, sure. I think you film work. I think you point out opportunities where they didn't, point out opportunities where they did. I don't think playing hard the other night was an issue. I think it was we didn't play nearly smart enough with the ball, particularly in the first half. But our guys really provided the kind of effort plays that you need. But absolutely, I think it's film work, calling it out when that the play isn't made that way, and then saying when they do make those plays, hey, this is the expectation.
Chris, I know that your focus is on Nebraska this season, everything going on right now. But as a coach, and you're in charge of this big program, how much awareness or thought is there that ever goes into your mind about, well, these freshmen are starting to play, and these are meaningful minutes. We signed this signing class. These guys are top 36 players. How much room is there in your mind for the future when you're going through something that's probably not very fun?
Yeah, I try not to go there a whole lot, to be honest with you, only because I don't know that is entirely fair to the group that we're coaching right now. We are just trying to pour ourselves into finding a way to perform better. That's my job. That's what's expected of me. So to think too much about down the road, you think about down the road because in the midst of the season I am recruiting, so you are kind of thinking in those terms. Hey, listen, but to put too much thought or time into that, I've really tried not to, because I just am trying to be as committed as possible, and our staff needs to be as committed as possible to this group.
Where does a coach turn to? Like, if a player's going through a rough patch, you can go talk to a coach. If you're trying to get this team back on track, where do you go?
I've called my go-to guys, and had great conversations. And it's not a long list, but I have called those guys. I had a good friend call me last night, kind of checking in, and he said he saw my face, and I thought I've always been had a very pleasant face, but apparently not. So, good, really good dude that I've known for a while in coaching. But yeah, I've called my guys just to say, hey, what are you doing in these situations? What have you done in these situations? How can I be doing this better? How can we as a staff be doing this better? Like I said, it's a short list, but it's of the people I've talked to in the last week or two, they've been really helpful.
I know after a couple other games you've talked about just the day-to-day development, and that's what's important in a time like this. Luther and Dwayne in their first seasons, how would you evaluate where they are right now in their development in terms of where you expected them to be?
Good. It's hard. Probably, I don't know if it's where I expected or better than expected. I'm not sure yet because we have a lot of the season left. Maybe after the season I'll be able to give a fuller evaluation of that. But I think they've given significant contributions. We knew we were going to rely on them. Perhaps we've had to rely even more than I anticipated, perhaps. But I think they've done some really good things. They've also been what you'd expect from freshmen and had some inconsistent moments that are understandable.
Even though you're on a 5-game losing streak, which is the longest in 21 years at Ohio State, are there positives that you've taken from these games where you can look at moments in these games and go, if we just do more of that, maybe it's a different outcome in some of these games?
Yeah, there are. There are, and I think that there are positives, and I think at the end of the day, that's what you're trying to hit home with your guys about. Hey, listen, we have to be more of this. We have to do this more than what we've done in the past. So yeah, you're trying to hang on to those kind of positive moments and positive play and build upon that. You're obviously making corrections we need to, but in this time you're hitting on those positive moments as much as you can.
Does it get tougher as you lose more and more, especially because you have a younger team? Does it get tougher to hit home those points?
No, I mean, I suppose in a way, because you're constantly checking, hey, they're probably hearing stats like that I wasn't aware of. So thanks for sharing that. They're probably, and that maybe they've seen that or whatever. So they're hearing that stuff. So you're constantly trying to take stock of kind of how they are, what their presence of mind is, what their collective spirit is. But listen, as I said, this is for tough people and tough-minded people. So if this is too much for them, then we got to check, where we're at, and we got to check our locker room, because that's not the kind of guys that we're gonna. I believe this group has the necessary kind of mental fortitude to fight through this stretch. I do.
Just to piggyback on the future question, were you surprised that none of your recruits were selected in the McDonald's All-American game this year?
Yeah, we had gotten word that a couple of them were right there. I think they had went to a Final 30, and I don't necessarily want to say who, but one of them was in the Final 30, so made the final cut. That's always that in the Jordan game or Jordan Brand game are two great kind of postseason honors, and we'll see what happens in the Jordan Brand game. But I thought a couple of them might have a legitimate shot, and they did, and one was really close. But you never know what goes all into that.
When looking at Nebraska this weekend, they have one of the top turnover margins in the country, and that's something you guys have struggled with somewhat through the season. How do you prepare for a team that is so good at not turning over the ball and also forcing those turnovers?
Yeah, good question. I think they're really, really, really active with their hands. They've been that way for a couple years. They were that way here. So it's obviously been a real issue with our group. We have to be better in that. We've said that over and over and over. It's going to be a point of emphasis going into the game. And then obviously they have a veteran group that can really get places with the ball, so they don't turn it over a whole lot. So our defense is going to have to be more sound at effective field goal percentage.
I know Palmer's their top scorer, but they have 4 guys who score in double figures. How do you prepare for a team that's so deep in their scoring?
Well, I think they were similar last year, very, very balanced. I think it's signature of a really good team, and that's kind of what we've tried to stress here is the importance of balance. It can't be one-dimensional and be successful. And because of that, their offense has been very good in league play. It's a number of guys that you need to focus on.
You talked going into the Iowa game about how well Iowa seeks contact when they have the ball, and how your team sort of needs to get better in some of those areas. Is that something that you can work on, or is that a mindset thing?
I think it's always been, in my mind, you can make some improvements in it, but a lot of it is who you are as a player.
I guess where do you think you are as far as maybe trying to get better in that area? We talked about the free throw discrepancy the other night, but where do you think you are as far as trying to get some more of that out of your offense?
I think we can get better at that, but I don't think we're going to be a great team at that. I think it's, very rarely did we have to talk to, JT about getting to the line. So I think that a lot of that is the physical presence, the ball skills, all those kind of things. But I do think we can make it more of an emphasis and need to.
Is Dwayne feeling better? Did the flu spread to anybody?
Yeah, Kyle Young is got the flu. Obviously, he's out anyway. But Dwayne is feeling better. He was, as I said after the game, he was not, just didn't have energy, and he feels better now, which is good.
Do you have to CQ when you get a technical?
No. Occasionally I'll get a tongue lashing from my wife, but not this past time. She knows better this time.